This is Optimal Finance Daily, episode 1689, Key to Early Retirement, Margin of Safety, by ESI of ESI And I'm your host and personal finance enthusiast, Diana Merriam. Now let's get right to it and start optimizing your life. Key to Early Retirement, Margin of Safety, by ESI of ESI One of the things I worry about for extreme early financial independence retirees is that they plan the numbers too close. In other words, I think some would be in trouble if something unexpected and costly pops up. And as we know, we should expect the unexpected when it comes to money emergencies. For example, let's say a 30-year-old has $1 million saved. Using the 4% rule, they should be able to take out $40,000 each year and be reasonably sure their money will last. Let's also assume that $40,000 is just what they need to make their budget work. This sort of setup is considered very normal for many in the early retirement community, but it has a couple of inherent risks. Potential money problems in early retirement. There are problems that could pop up given this scenario. Number one, the 4% rule is not a rule in the same way a law is a law in science. A law has been proven to be true. The 4% rule has been proven to the extent that it's been back-tested. But as we all know, past performance is no guarantee of future results. So basing your entire life on something that is probably true but may not actually happen in your lifetime is risky. And number two, their savings, withdrawal, and expenses match. So if a big expense pops up out of nowhere, like let's say your furnace stops working when it's 0 degrees outside, life starts to get very tough. What these people lack is something I always try to bake into any of my financial plans: a margin of safety. Margin of safety options. I'm a fairly conservative money manager, and thus prefer several significant margins of safety. You never know what could hit and how severe it will be, so I think it's best to have lots of plans, safety, and insurance in case circumstances conspire against me. Here's a list of the margins of safety we have in early retirement. Number one, not having to withdraw from assets. I think I've been clear about the fact that we're living on the income generated by our assets, not actually spending the assets themselves. So if I wanted or needed, I could take an additional $120,000 in assets each year using the 4% rule to supplement our income. That's a pretty good cushion. Number two, relying on a portion of my assets. Our current income is actually generated by half of our assets. So in theory, we could spend the other half and not reduce our lifestyle. Big cushion here too. Number three, multiple streams of income. I have one really strong income stream, rental properties, a few intermediate ones, P2P lending and dividends, and one decent and growing, blog income. This last one has the potential to be really significant. Eventually, it may be able to rival the rental properties to give me yet another strong margin of safety. Number four, large cash cushion. We currently have about 2 years living expenses in cash, and it's growing. There are actually two reasons for so much cash. Number one, provide a margin of safety, of course. And number two, be ready for the next real estate downturn. I would like to buy a few more places if the price is right. Number five, cut spending. Our current annual budget is $85,000. As you might imagine, that affords us a pretty high standard of living, especially since we're no longer saving and have no debt. We could cut $30,000 or so from the budget if worse came to worse. Number six, downsize house. Our current home is awesome. 5 bedrooms, 4.5 baths, 3,500 square feet, etc. It has plenty of room for us and frequent visitors, which we get often since we live in the awesome state of Colorado. It's in a great location too, near our gym, grocery store, and a handful of shops. We walk to all of these places. If we had to, we could sell it and pay rent for roughly 25 years from the house's proceeds alone, assuming the proceeds didn't grow 1 penny. When you factor in the lower costs of maintenance and taxes, etc., of living in an apartment, that gives us even more margin. Number 7, going back to work. I hate to think about it, but I have very marketable skills, good connections, and I could go back to work if I needed. Of course, I could send my wife to work instead, which would be my preferred first response during a crisis. Number 8, new ways to earn. If I had to, I could implement several money-making ideas I've been tossing around. Number 9, Social Security. I spent my life planning for retirement without Social Security, and I'm not really counting on it now. But odds are I'll get something. That's 15 years down the road, but it's at least a minor margin of safety. And 10, sell stuff. We've tried to keep our stuff to a minimum, but if we had to, we could sell some items, including a car or two, and likely raise a good amount of money. I realize having so many margins of safety could be considered a bit over the top, but I like having options and flexibility. Perhaps as time goes on, we'll loosen up a bit and spend, eliminate, or reduce some of them. But for now, I'm happy to have lots of choices. To me, it's a key part of early retirement and certainly helps me sleep better at night. You just listened to the post titled Key to Early Retirement, Margin of Safety by ESI of ESImoney.com. Thank you to Gusto. I've shared some of what small business owners have said about them before, but there's actually a lot more. Here are some real people. Tom S. says, Gusto has allowed my small company to offer big-time benefits without an HR department. And that's been true for us too, actually. Here on the OLD podcast team, we feel like we have a full-time payroll and HR department that can offer benefits thanks to Gusto. Laura L. says, with Gusto, even my employees are impressed with how easy their new hire paperwork is. Also true for us here. When we switched over to Gusto, I had to do the new hire paperwork, and yes, it was a breeze, super fast, easy, and I didn't need any additional instructions or help. And here's what Brian L. says. Gusto is super simple and easy to use. I've used multiple other payroll processes, and there's nothing like this out there. And the list goes on. Right now, our listeners get 3 months free when they go to gusto.com/OFD. Yep, 3 months of payroll, benefits admin, and more. Totally free. Again, that's gusto.com/OFD. gusto.com/OFD. I thought this article made some really great points regarding navigating financial risks in early retirement. Whether we're still working full-time, accumulating assets, or we're retired, unexpected things are always going to come up. While I don't think we should be constantly on edge waiting for the other shoe to drop, I do think there are reasonable things we can do to strengthen our safety nets. Your FI number of 25 times your yearly expenses is only as good as your assumptions behind how much money you'll need. If you retire at 30, it's really hard to know with any certainty what your yearly expenses will be at 60 years old. But you can make an educated guess, pad your numbers, and think through worst-case scenarios and backup plans. Early retirement is a risk, just as sitting at a desk for 40 years while life passes you by is a risk. When it comes to drawdown strategies, most people I know who have retired early aren't taking out the recommended 4% per year. They are holding a few years in cash, and as this reserve depletes, they're looking for opportune times based on market dynamics to withdraw more from their nest egg. So I think the concern over not being able to handle a large expense like a furnace can be mitigated easily with a good drawdown strategy. And while it might sound obnoxiously optimistic, what about if things go better than you planned? Is this not an equally probable outcome? When I quit my job in January of this year, I told myself I had enough money to take a year to figure things out. Maybe I'd consider this a mini retirement with a deadline and take on another full-time job after I deplete my savings by a certain amount. Or maybe I'll figure out how to replace my income through self-employment. Or maybe something totally unexpected would cross my path. I spent so much time trying to figure out how long my money would last me when I was deciding to leave my job. And you know what? I was totally wrong. I've spent about 30% less than I budgeted over the last 9 months. And I had a windfall in February, a large tax return that I didn't anticipate, that has basically covered my expenses until now. I'm just now starting to tap into the money that I thought I would have needed 9 months ago. So again, plan for the worst, but recognize that unexpected good fortune is just as probable as unexpected expenses. I'll leave it there for today. That's a wrap for another Sunday show. Have a great rest of your day, and I'll be back tomorrow for Minimalist Monday, where your optimal life awaits.